Welcome to Colonize the Ocean podcast, where we discuss oceanic colonization, exploration, and education with your hosts Adam Jewell and Brendon Traxler.
All right, guys, welcome again to another episode of Colonize the Ocean, the podcast. I am one of your hosts, Adam Jewell, and with me, as always, is Brendon the Traxler. He is the founder and CEO and whatever you want to say about Atlantic Sea Colony, and he founded the Colonize the Ocean movement as well. I think I'm just trying to reinvent different ways to introduce you through each episode. That's kind of what I've been doing.
I don't think I really invented the movement. I think the movement's been there for like 60 years.
Well, okay, but you came up with a name for it, I guess.
Okay.
Because, in the beginning, Colonize the Ocean was going to be more than just a podcast. Correct? Wasn't it going to be kind of like a community in a sense?
Hey, we're still early days, man. You never know what's going to happen. Don't be giving out our plans here to the public.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's all under wraps yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're from Atlantic Sea Colony, and, we believe in trying to, colonize the ocean through underwater habitats and, hotels, houses, data centers, whatever it is. Maybe we'll open up the first underwater McDonald's or something in the future. You never know. Chick-fil-A?
Oh, now we're talking.
Taco Bell?
I'll be okay with that too.
So you're just McDonald's just isn't high up on your fast food chains.
Not really.
It's up there for me.
It's like plastic food. It makes me sick every time I go there.
Hey, let's keep that, because what if they came to us and be like, hey, we want to sponsor Atlantic Sea Colony?
They got good milkshakes.
When the machine's working. So today we got a couple topics we're going to talk about. You got one, I got one. Do you want me to go ahead and go first there, Mr. Traxler?
Why not?
All right, so if you follow us on the Atlantic Sea Colony Facebook page, we post a lot of different oceanic-type news articles, mostly involving technology and what have you. So I wanted to briefly talk about this one I found on this website, www.3dprintingindustry.com, under their news section. And I'll read a little snippet here. It's about this 3D printer company that is building accessories and stuff for an underwater ROV, or a remote operated vehicle. And so the intro of this is saying, remote operated vehicle manufacturer QYSEA is working with Chinese SLM and SLS 3D printer manufacturer Farsoon to produce protective covers for its Fifish V6 underwater ROV. So, there's a lot of progress going on in, I guess in the past 10 years. Maybe it's been more than that, but it seems like it's been the past 10 years that we've really seen 3D printing go from being kind of a emerging technology to where it's being used in a lot of different types of manufacturing. And one of the things that caught my eye with this is another section here real quick that says, by working with Farsoon, QYSEA has reportedly reduced the development time of the customized protective covers from over 30 days to below 7 days, and cut regular injection molding production costs of $50,000 by 80%. So, that's, to me, and one of my things that I'm into, and I've kind of maybe brought it up before in the podcast or the show, is that I've been trained in what they call lean manufacturing, and what that's all about is being able to more efficiently produce a product in a manufacturing setting, or it doesn't even have to be specifically tied to manufacturing, but that's where it's developed. It kind of ties way back, and I'm not going to go on a huge tangent, but Toyota kind of almost invented the system. They say Ford would have figured it out eventually in his time, but did not. But kind of stems from the assembly line process that Ford came up with. But one-piece flow, just manufacturing stuff at a much more efficient pace, and cutting waste in your production and all that. So it kind of caught my eye when it came to that. But not only that, it's just we talked last week with Chad, and he was saying that Ocean Builders, they have that nice new 3D printer, that really big one. And today I actually attended a conference that Joe Quark from the Seasteading Institute was talking about, and they brought up the 3D printer again. But 3D printing is just going to be offering so many opportunities when it comes to just a lot of, I guess, oceanic type, technology. Like in this case, they're building protective covers for their ROVs, But we talked a lot about how a lot of, obviously, plastic doesn't get destroyed in the ocean. That's usually a bad thing that we're trying to, the world's trying to figure out how to reduce the amount of plastic going to the ocean. But at the same time, when you're building structures and components, plastic, is a really good thing when you're trying to build something to last in the waters. So, yeah, I just think it's really cool that we're seeing that. And I think that we're going to be, I don't know, I foresee our company, our project, utilizing 3D printing in the future, just because of the capabilities of how all it works, and build times quicker. And, at the end of the day, if you can find the right distributor and the right equipment, it's probably going to be cheaper in the long run too. So yeah, a lot of cool things going on with 3D printing. Anything you want to tie into that, Brendon?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, even there was an article, we shared it, it was quite a while ago, that the Navy had 3D printed the first submarine. It was like a submersible. So I remember the first time I saw 3D printers, it's probably 5-6 years ago. And at that point in time, I was like, this is going to revolutionize everything. That, obviously the ocean, since that's what we deal with, but I mean, space, just everything. I think we're still in the infancy of 3D printing. I don't think we see the full spectrum of what it's going to do, but I think it's going to be massive as far as changing the way we build things. Even consumer products, I think it's going to drastically change that too. When you can 3D print a wrench at home, obviously the licensing is going to be a big issue. But right now you can 3D print food. I mean, they have food 3D printers. Obviously, it's
right.
So I mean, literally, it's whatever your mind can imagine, you're going to be able to dream up. So, yeah, I think that 3D printing is just, it's mind-boggling. And as the technology advances and gets faster, that's the biggest thing right now is the speeds on some of this stuff. But you can 3D print houses. I mean, yeah, there's literally anything you can think of, you can 3D print. It's just right now a cost and a speed type of thing. But even at that, it's in the last couple of years, it's just leaps and bounds where it was.
Well, and when you think about, you just mentioned houses that, I can't remember where I saw it, but I know you know what I'm talking about. With there's that, it's an extremely large 3D printer where it actually can build a concrete home in one day.
Yeah,
granted, it's like a simplified. Obviously, it's not a huge elaborate type structure, but really, when it comes down to it, I mean, a lot of this stuff, going back to when we talked to Chad, I mean, they have a really, really cool design for the sea pods that they're doing, and a lot of that's going to probably be done using the 3D printer. So it's like, we could utilize that same kind of thing with, what we're trying to do. And, I've built various types of things in my history with manufacturing, and I've worked a lot with steel manufacturing, and I don't think 3D printing has gotten there where it can take steel and like mold things. Yeah, I could be wrong. Maybe you've seen something that I haven't, but I haven't seen anything that involves steel or anything like that. But I mean, I never would have thought that we could do half the stuff we're doing already. So I mean, material wise, they're doing concrete, they're doing plastics, they're, like you said, they're even doing variations of food that you can mess with this stuff. So like I said, I keep saying 10 years ago, that just jumps out at me as like when the first like home buying 3D printers, or like ones you could buy for your house. And it's like, I remember the first ones, you could like put a simple little design it, and it would take like probably hours, if not a day, just to print up something. And now they're moving so much faster, and that's just the way technology works, that after you get the first system out there, I mean, then all it is improvements from there. So yeah, we're seeing, like we said, we saw that 3D printer with a concrete that could build a house in a day. Well, who's to say that down the road that they couldn't do that in half a day, a quarter of a day, a few hours, whatever it is? It's just, it's all about making sure that the consumer demand is there, which I think it is. I could live in one of these little houses that they make out of the concrete and stuff. I mean, I don't think my kids and wife would probably move in with me because I think they're just a 1-bedroom thing. But
we can make
I think it's really cool.
Each person have their own house.
Yeah, I like that. My wife might like that too. But yeah, I just like where it's all going, because I think that's going to be a huge involvement going forward with developing more technology for underwater structural type things for underwater habitats, or like what the sea setters are doing. So seeing just even the small things they're doing right now is cool to see, because it's only going to get bigger from here.
Yeah, totally. That's very cool stuff. Kind of hard segueing off of that from right where you left it, but you were talking about you were talking about your conference, or the webinar thing you attended this morning with Joe Quirk, and my article actually was shared by him, and that's how I saw it. And it's from the website's the Visual Capitalist, and basically all it is it's a infograph kind of, and it's a predictions for what the Earth's going to look like in 100 years. And I mean, you take it with a grain of salt. We were looking at images from back in the 50s and 60s, what they thought the year 2000 was going to look like, right. And we're in some aspects we're nowhere there, and others we're far past it. But it's still fun to look at that. But obviously they got the first thing they talk about is 3D printed homes, how that's going to be just a commonality in the future. So kind of there's our segue from that. Power obviously is the that's the buzz right now: solar, hydro, wind, all those type of things. And they're talking about how big solar arrays, either in space is what they're talking about, that will capture that light and then send it back down to Earth or Moon or wherever at that point in time. Buildings, the Burj Khalifa over in Dubai, that's a quarter of a mile high, the biggest tallest building in the world. They're talking about how this buildings will continue as technology advances, and the buildings will get taller and bigger, which that alone, it just scares me. There'd be no way you could put me on one of those top floors.
No.
But the one that appeals to us is they're talking about cities underwater, and talking about how they will produce their own oxygen, which we talked about, and hydrogen for power, as well as other things. And they're talking about not only underwater, but building deep into the ground too, underground cities, and just bigger cities alone. Building up, building out, building under. So, and then they go into the science and the research aspects of things. What's going to be happening with that, where technology and man meet, and we've seen hybrids there, where that's meeting. And then of course they dive into travel, the space and everything like that as well. It's a really cool article. Not a hard read since it's mostly an infograph, but just the aspect that once again, space actually didn't even take in the list of things. Space was even on the top. It was you talked about the underwater cities, whether there's any thing to that or not. But I just found it interesting that space was towards the bottom, even though that's the hot point right now. But they underwater cities was up higher in the list. I just think that's really cool.
Yeah, and it kind of tie in with that. It's talking about the space aspect of it, is that when you look at it, we have the technology. We know that we can build underwater. We know that we could put structures underwater that are livable. We've seen it in the past. They've been making designs and stuff since the 50s or whatever that have worked. It's just not something that ever really took off, but we've proved that we can do it and that we can only make improvements from there. And we could do that tomorrow. We could literally, if we had the money and the people and the crew behind it, within a very, very, very short amount of time, we could have a habitat underwater. We could have a town underwater. You know, we just need the resources, really. But when you think about it, we want, I shouldn't say we, but I mean, people want to say, figure out how we can colonize Mars or move to the moon, whatever it is. We can want that all we want right now, but we can't yet. Like, it's the goal for, like, say, Elon Musk or NASA or wherever, that they want to be able to accomplish that. But there's still a lot of work to be done before they can do that. They have to do how many tests before they can do that? And even if once they get the first test going, it's not like it's a 2-day trip to Mars or whatever, like that goal is still, I guess, in my opinion, maybe at minimal a few years off, just before we even see like the test run. And you keep much closer eye on like what SpaceX and them are doing, and maybe the first test run to Mars is a lot closer than that, but I can't imagine that they're going to send people anytime soon. They're going to want to make sure that all this is like safe and whatever. But like I said, we could start doing this. Like, this has been done. We know how to do it. Not me personally, but there's people out there that do know how to get this done. So, a lot of what we've been trying to do outside of just trying to get the first underwater habitat, not the first, but you know what I mean, is just to get people excited about it, get people wanting to do it, because it can be done. It's just a matter of, once again, getting the resources and the support behind it.
Yeah. I'm working on something. It's a paper, which I'll turn into video format and stuff like that. But one of the excerpts from it says, hey, we got Elon Musk building a 400-foot tall spaceship as we speak in Texas. And meanwhile, we're sitting in a 40-foot tin can, 60 feet under the water is the best we can do. There's a serious, unbalance there in the drive. And once again, it is all it boils down to is a financial thing. It's where's the money going, and where's the glamour and stuff along those lines. And right now it's in space, and that's why you're seeing these things. But we can do better, and we're going to. I mean, it's a inevitability. It's just when are we going to do it, and how soon are we going to do it? But yeah, talking to the moon, they're shooting for 2024 right now, and I was watching a video right before we started doing this, and they're talking about now with Corona and everything else that's even going to be tight if they can make that to get to the moon again. So
to get another person up there.
Yeah, 2024. Gotcha. So that's 4 years away at minimum right now is what their goal is shooting for. So you're looking at probably another decade or so. Meanwhile, in a decade, holy cow, just think of what we could have underwater if we started later this year even. So
right. If Atlantis Sea Colony had the same money that SpaceX has behind it, oh man, we could have beautiful underwater cities. Yeah. And just and I would say actual cities. I wouldn't say just a few habitats down there, because and obviously I can't prove this right off the top of my head and do the math in front of you guys, because I can't go that deep, but
no pun intended.
Nobody could ever convince me that it would cost more to live underwater or build underwater habitats than it is to do space travel and do all that, because I mean, like I said, way more because you pay real close attention to SpaceX, and it's just like when something goes wrong with like a rocket or whatever, or even when they're doing test runs, a test run that doesn't serve a function costs millions of dollars, and it's like, I don't foresee anything that we do being like millions of dollars, like not to that extent anyways. I'm sure like once we can develop like a grand underwater hotel or something like that, or apartment complex, whatever it is, maybe that structure could cost that much. But like I said, I foresee underwater colonization being cheaper, easier for people to do, and I am dedicated to the belief that by doing what we're trying to do, we're going to improve nature and underwater ecosystems. Um, Talking with Carly in one of our first interviews, and then talking with Chad last week, a lot of these guys have it figured out about how once we move to the water, that we're going to be creating life. We're going to be creating improving systems. And once again, I sit and dwell on this a lot. They talk about this ocean, the plastics in the ocean, how that's destroying a lot of the things. And like you've said, what better way to start being active about it than being amongst it? I mean, we want to be out there and have this beautiful underwater scenery. We want to watch the fish. We want to watch the coral. We want to see all this stuff. We don't want to see a bunch of garbage floating by. So you get more people out there seeing this, and you get more people caring about it firsthand. We're going to figure out that problem real quick.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the second that everybody wants to talk about how business is bad for it, but as a business, especially one that's dwelling underwater, it's good business to keep that as clean as possible, because that's what's going to draw the people in. They're not going to come visit someplace that's just murky and there's no fish there or nothing like that. So it is in our best interest to make sure that whatever we do, we keep it healthy, pristine, and vibrant. So,
yeah. I think when people actually get a chance to kind of see and listen to what we talk about and see what we want to do, they understand that. There is a few people now and again that they see the initial idea of oh, we're gonna build a house underwater, and it's just they must have it in their head that we're gonna send a stick of dynamite down there, blow up a coral reef, and just dump oil and stuff in there just to they just think that we're going down there with the intentions of just destroying everything. But there's really no point in going down. Oh, I shouldn't say any point, but I mean, that's one of the main points of going down, is to see all that cool stuff and have it be a part of it. So yeah, there is it's not profitable. It's not in anyone's best interest to do any damage to it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we're not going down there to mine the area or to do anything like that, which obviously that will probably come along, and I think that's a big concern, is that they look at what we've done on the surface with the litter and all that kind of stuff, and that we're going to correlate that to the ocean, and that's a valid concern. I mean, our human nature is that, it appears to be, but as we become pioneers to this and we start doing this, we have to set that precedent that it's not tolerable, and we have to maintain a balance with the ecosystem around us.
Yeah, and we could, and maybe we should sometimes spend an entire episode just on that topic, because there's so many tangents we could go on, because there's so many, core issues of why so many things have gotten the way they are, and to just blame every single person, every human being as the reason why is not the right thing to do either, because I'd say more so than not, you have people that do care than people that don't. So I mean, I think getting the majority of people behind a good project to keep things clean and safe is what we're really going to need. But yeah, I liked the article and the presentation. Yeah, I definitely foresee that when groups like us and the Seasteading Institute and just other pioneers that are just trying to revolutionize the way we grow and live, once they get the support behind them, like we're getting the support behind us, that all that I think is going to come true.
Yeah, that's a great end. I mean, I think you summed up the article, and yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's our episode for this week. Cool. So, as always, you know where to catch us. We're on www.colonizetheocean.com, www.atlantaseacolony.com. Find us on all of our social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Go to Reddit, YouTube, LBRY, and look for Atlantis Sea Colony. We're on all of that. And, you guys can drop us a line. Join our Facebook. Obviously, we're on all the social medias, but we interact quite heavily on Facebook, as we do with our other ones. But that's kind of where we've been doing a lot of the community discussion, I guess, on a lot of different things. So come join us on there. And then, as always, join us next week as we continue to colonize